Reading. If reading is your primary hobby, you're an inner world explorer. Picture this: you're at a party. Music, people, energy everywhere. You can engage, you're not antisocial, but part of you is already thinking about going home, getting comfortable, and opening that book on your nightstand. That's where you really come alive. Your mind constantly hungers for mental stimulation. While others are content with surface level interactions, you need depth. You want to understand not just what people do, but why. Research from the New School found that fiction readers score significantly higher on empathy tests. Every time you read, you're living inside someone else's consciousness. You're practicing perspective taking in a way most activities don't require. You prefer deep friendships over dozens of shallow ones. Two people who truly understand you matter more than 20 acquaintances. When you connect, you want to discuss ideas, meaning, and the things beneath everyday small talk. You process emotions internally and value solitude in ways that make some people uncomfortable. You don't need constant external stimulation because your inner world is rich enough that you can disappear into it for hours and emerge energized rather than drained. But books can become an escape rather than an enhancement. When real problems get messy, it's easier to disappear into fiction where everything makes narrative sense. You might prefer characters to real people because characters never disappoint you unpredictably. You also overthink. You've considered so many perspectives that simple decisions become complicated. Analysis is your strength, but sometimes you need to stop analyzing and just act. Your challenge is bringing the wisdom from those pages into your actual life. Books show you how to live, but eventually, you have to close them and live. Gaming. If gaming is your primary hobby, you're a strategic achiever, and you're tired of people not taking it seriously. Someone walks by while you're gaming and sees you just playing, but you're not. You're problem solving in real time, mastering complex systems, learning from failure, and improving measurable skills. That's not mindless entertainment, that's active engagement. You're goal oriented. You love clear feedback. You do something, you see results immediately. Real life doesn't work that way. You can work hard for months without knowing if you're progressing. Games give you what life often can't, which is a direct correlation between effort and outcome. You're also remarkably resilient. You'll die 50 times fighting the same boss, learning patterns, adjusting strategy until you win. That persistence is valuable. The question is whether you're applying it to real-world challenges. Competitive gamers who focus on player versus player matches and ranked gameplay are achievement-driven and status-conscious. You want to be the best, or at least better than yesterday. Story gamers who prefer role-playing games and narrative adventures are like readers who want agency. You're exploring identity and morality through choices. Social gamers use games as a connection. The game is just the medium for relationships and shared experiences. Each type reveals something different about what drives you. Real life lacks immediate reward loops. You can't see your experience points rising. That makes real goals feel unrewarding by comparison. Gaming can also become procrastination. It's easier to optimize a character build than your actual life. It's easier to solve in-game problems that have clear solutions than to deal with the ambiguous, messy problems of relationships and career growth. Your ability to persist through difficulty and stay strategic under pressure is genuinely valuable. The growth edge for you is identifying what real-world challenge deserves that same energy and focus. Cooking and baking. If cooking or baking is your hobby, you're a sensory nurturer. It's Friday night. You could have food delivered in minutes. Instead, you're in your kitchen chopping, measuring, watching something transform under your hands. Why? Because for you, the process matters as much as the outcome. Cooking engages all five senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. That full sensory engagement grounds you in ways screen-based activities never can. You express love through acts of service. When you care about someone, you feed them. You create something that nourishes, comforts, and makes them feel cared for. That's deeply human. You appreciate the balance between structure and creativity. Recipes give you a framework, but within that framework, you can experiment, adjust, improvise, and make it your own. Bakers tend to be more precision-oriented. Baking is chemistry. You follow rules because rules produce results. You find peace in exactness, in the measuring, timing, and precision. Cooks tend to be more improvisational. You taste, adjust, substitute. You're comfortable with uncertainty, which suggests adaptability elsewhere in your life too. You're generous by nature. You don't just cook for yourself. You think about who you'll share it with, Other people enjoying your creation brings genuine joy. You can use caretaking to feel needed and valued. When people don't appreciate what you've made, it feels like they rejected your care, not just your food. That's heavy. You might also struggle with receiving. You're so used to providing, so accustomed to being the one who nurtures and takes care, that when someone tries to care for you, you don't know how to accept it. There can be perfectionism around presentation too. It's not enough that it tastes good, it has to look right. Sometimes that perfectionism steals the joy from the process. You know how to nourish others. The challenge is remembering that you need nourishment too, and sometimes that means letting others take care of you. Exercise and fitness. If exercise is your hobby, something you genuinely choose rather than force yourself to do, you're a discipline seeker. 6 in the morning, alarm goes off. Most people bargain with themselves about going later. You get up and move. That's not just about fitness, that's about who you are. You have a strong connection to your future self. You're investing in who you'll be years from now. That requires delayed gratification most people struggle with. You're willing to be uncomfortable now for benefits you won't see until later. You believe in personal agency. You believe that your choices matter, that effort produces results, and that you control at least some aspects of your life. In a chaotic world, that sense of control is grounding. You're also using exercise for emotional regulation. Stressed, anxious, angry, you move, you process emotions physically, which is incredibly healthy. Solo exercisers who run or go to the gym alone are often introverted or at least need alone time to recharge. Exercise is meditation for you. It's when you think and process and work through problems. The movement quiets your mind. Group fitness people who take classes or play team sports are motivated by community and accountability. You're more extroverted, and you get energy from shared effort. The social component might be as important as the physical one. Extreme sport enthusiasts who do marathons, CrossFit, climbing, or triathlons are boundary pushers. You need to test limits. Comfort feels like stagnation to you. Exercise can become obsessive, though, shifting from health to punishment. You might be using it to control anxiety, to earn the right to eat, or to achieve a body standard that's more about external validation than internal well-being. You might also judge people who don't have the same discipline. If you can get up at 6 in the morning, why can't they? But everyone's fighting different battles, and discipline in one area doesn't mean someone lacks it entirely. Your discipline is admirable. Just make sure you're running towards something, not away from yourself. Make sure the voice pushing you forward is encouragement, not punishment. Pause for a second. Drop your main hobby in the comments right now. Just 1 or 2 words. Then tell me, is it active or passive? Solo or social? Creative or structured? Most people's hobbies cluster in one category. If you have a solo hobby, your other hobbies are probably solo too. If you're creative across the board. But the people with the most balanced, resilient lives, they mix categories. They have something physical and something mental, something social and something solo, something structured and something freeform. Are you balanced or all in on one type? Let's keep going. Traveling. If traveling is your hobby, you're an experience collector. Everyone's posting about their new car, new clothes, and new house. You're saving for the next plane ticket because spending thousands on stuff feels empty compared to a week somewhere you've never been. You value experiences over possessions. Life is measured in moments, stories, what you've seen and felt and learned. A new couch is outdated in 5 years, but that sunrise in another country? That's yours forever. Travelers score high on openness to experience, one of the big 5 personality traits. You're curious, imaginative, and willing to embrace the unfamiliar. Where others see risk and discomfort, you see possibility. You grow through contrast. You need to see how others live to understand how you want to live. Every new culture, every different way of being in the world reflects something about your own values and assumptions. But sometimes you're running towards something and sometimes you're running away. Are you traveling because you're genuinely curious about the world or because you can't sit still with yourself? Are you exploring or are you escaping? Travel can become addictive. You're always chasing the high of the next place, the next adventure. When you come home, regular life feels flat by comparison. You might struggle with commitment to jobs, to relationships, to places, because staying feels like giving up on possibility. There's also a privileged conversation here worth having. Travel as a hobby requires resources, time, money, and flexibility. The world is absolutely worth exploring. But so is your inner landscape. So is depth in one place, with one community, with roots that go down instead of just out. Have you traveled inward as much as you've traveled outward? That's the question worth asking yourself. Watching movies and TV. If watching movies and TV is your primary hobby, you're a story consumer, and people probably judge you for it. But they don't understand what's actually happening. You're not being passive. Your brain is actively engaged, following narrative threads, predicting outcomes, empathizing with characters, testing different lives and moral scenarios safely. You need a story. You need a narrative. Humans are meaning-making creatures, and stories are how we make sense of the world. Every show, every movie is asking questions about how to live, what matters, what it means to be human. You're engaging with those questions. You're also highly empathetic. When a character is in pain, you feel it. When they succeed, you feel that too. You're not just watching, you're experiencing alongside them. There's also a cultural connection. Shows and movies become shared texts. They give us a common language, common references. When you can talk about a show with someone, you're bonding over shared experience. Binge watchers who consume full series in days are completion-driven and immersive. You want to live in a story fully, see it through to the end. You probably hate leaving things unfinished in other areas too. Film buffs who critique cinematography and analyze themes are engaging aesthetically and intellectually. You appreciate craft. You're not just consuming, you're studying. Comfort rewatchers who return to the same shows repeatedly are seeking emotional regulation. Those shows are predictable, safe. They don't demand anything from you. In a chaotic world, they're your steady ground. Watching can become avoidance, though. It's easier to care about fictional problems than your real ones. It's easier to live vicariously through characters than to risk your own vulnerable, unpredictable life. Parasocial relationships, feeling deeply connected to characters or celebrities, can sometimes replace real human connections. Binge watching can also be a numbing behavior. You're using story to not feel rather than to feel more deeply. Stories show us how to live. They're rehearsals for reality. They teach us empathy, possibility, and consequence. But at some point, you have to close the screen and live your own story. You can't just watch life. Eventually, you have to participate. Arts and crafts. If arts, crafts, or DIY projects are your hobby, you're a hands-on creator. Your friends buy things. You make things. There's a profound difference. When you need something, furniture, a gift, a solution to a problem, your first thought isn't where can I buy that? It's can I make that? You're resourceful, self-reliant, and you get genuine satisfaction from creating with your hands. Research shows people value things significantly more when they've put effort into creating them. Psychologists call this the IKEA effect. That lamp you built might be objectively less nice than one you could buy, but to you, it's worth more because you made it. You need tangible results. At the end of a day of creating, you have something to show for your time. In a world where so much work is digital and abstract, emails sent, data entered, meetings attended, you crave the concrete. You want to touch what you've accomplished. You're probably counterbalancing a screen-heavy life. If your job involves staring at a computer all day, your hobby is the antidote. Clay, wood, fabric, paint, and materials that exist in physical space and respond to your physical effort. Creating with your hands activates different neural pathways than digital work. It requires spatial reasoning, fine motor skills, and problem solving in 3 dimensions. Your brain lights up differently, and you can feel that. You take pride in skill development. You're not content being mediocre. You watch tutorials, you practice techniques, you push yourself to get better. Perfectionism can kill the joy of creating, though. You compare your work to what you see online, professional artists, people with years of experience, and your stuff doesn't measure up. So you get discouraged. You don't share what you make. You downplay your skill. Oh, I just threw this together. Stop doing that. You also might use constant doing as a way to avoid feeling. When uncomfortable emotions come up, you start a project. When you need to have a difficult conversation, you suddenly remember something that needs to be built. Creating is healthy, but not when it's avoidance. Not everything you make has to be perfect or even good. Sometimes the wonky, weird, messy stuff tells the best story. Sometimes the value is in the making itself, not the made thing. Permit yourself to create badly. That's where the real freedom is. Playing music? If playing music is your hobby, you're an emotional translator. Some people struggle to name what they're feeling. You play it. Music is its own language, and for you, it's often more precise than words. When emotions get too complex, too layered, too contradictory for verbal expression, you turn to your instrument. What was tangled inside you becomes clear in sound. Musicians have high emotional intelligence. You're deeply attuned to feeling, your own and others. Music is inherently emotional. It bypasses the logical brain and speaks directly to the limbic system. You've learned to channel emotion into something beautiful, and that's a rare skill. You also understand patterns uniquely. Music is mathematical, with rhythm, intervals, scales, and timing. Research shows overlap between musical ability and mathematical thinking. Your brain recognizes and creates patterns instinctively. Playing music requires a beautiful balance of discipline and freedom. You have to practice the technical skills, scales, finger placement, breath control, whatever your instrument demands. That takes repetition and patience. But then, when you actually play, you have to let go and feel. You have to be both precise and expressive. Classical or structured music players find freedom within constraints. The notes are written, the interpretation is where you shine. You're probably a rule follower in other areas too, but not rigidly. You understand that rules create the container for creativity. Improvisers who play jazz or jam sessions are spontaneous and adaptable. You're comfortable with uncertainty. You trust yourself to figure it out in the moment. That same energy probably shows up in how you handle life. Songwriters are storytellers. Music is your medium, but what you really need is to communicate something that matters to you. You can hide behind your instrument, though. It's easier to express emotion through music than to have a direct, vulnerable conversation. Someone asks how you're doing, and you say, "I'm fine," and then you go play something heartbreaking. The music tells the truth, but the people in your life don't always hear it. Perfectionism is also brutal for musicians. You hear every mistake, every note that's slightly off pitch, every rhythm that's not quite right. What sounds beautiful to everyone else sounds flawed to you. Music lets you say what words can't. That's a gift. But sometimes people need the words too. Sometimes you have to be direct, even when it's uncomfortable, even when the language feels inadequate. Let music be one way you communicate, not the only way. Here's what's really important. Most people have multiple hobbies, and the combination matters. Reading plus writing? You're processing life through narrative. Fitness plus cooking? You care about holistic well-being, input, and output. Gaming plus music? You're a pattern-seeking creative. Traveling plus watching? You're learning how to live through others' experiences. The healthiest people have diverse hobbies. Something physical, something creative, something social, something solo, something structured, something freeform. You don't need all of those, but if everything you do is solo and passive, you're missing something. If everything is high intensity and social, you're missing something too. Balance your ecosystem. And if you don't have a hobby right now, that tells you something too. Maybe you're exhausted, maybe you're overscheduled. Maybe you've lost touch with what actually brings you joy when nobody's watching. That's worth paying attention to. Your hobbies aren't just how you pass time, they're how you become yourself. They reveal what you value when no one's forcing you to do anything. They show where you come alive. Drop your hobby in the comments right now. Tell me what you choose when the choice is completely yours. And tell me, does this match how you see yourself, or were you surprised? If you want more videos that help you understand yourself better, hit subscribe. We've got deep dives on personality, psychology, and what makes you who you are. Thanks for watching. Your hobbies say something about you. The question is, are you listening?